Good evening, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just give me a minute time. We'll get started. In the meanwhile, you can keep revising the topics that we discussed in the previous class. I remember starting gravitation and we discussed some important topics. Just go through it and we'll continue from the part where we left. Shall we get started? So last class, can someone tell me what were the topics that we were discussing? We started the chapter gravitation. In that chapter, what were the main topics we were discussing? One is universal law of gravitation. Second is we discussed about the acceleration due to gravity. Am I right? So in the acceleration due to gravity, we saw with respect to 2 points. What are the 2 points at which we saw the acceleration due to gravity? One was
Closer to surface of the earth and then the altitude.
And then the altitude. Under altitude, we saw 2 different formulas. I hope you remember that also. Right. One of the formula is G divided by, that is, this is one of the formulas, G divided by 1 plus H by RE the whole square. And the other formula is G into 1 minus 2H divided by RE. So how did we get this? Can you tell me what is the mathematical tool that we used to get that?
Binomial theorem.
Very good. So we used binomial theorem. Right? 1 plus x the whole power n is equal to 1 plus nx if the value of magnitude of x is very much less than 1. Am I right? So the third part that we are going to see today is this is a slightly tricky one. So concentrate, guys. The same acceleration due to gravity at depth d. Okay, the next thing that we are going to see is acceleration due to gravity at depth. Okay. So let us consider the earth like this. So in this, the radius of the earth is going to be RE. So this is the surface. So below the surface, if you keep digging and go to a distance d from the surface, that is, you know what is the difference between depth and altitude, right? Can someone tell me what is the difference? When do you use the word altitude?
So when it is above the surface.
Yes. So you measure altitude means, see, for example, if I ask you, what is the altitude of this point? What will you say? What is the altitude of
distance from ground?
It is h. This is the altitude. Look at the language I'm going to use. So altitude of the point is h, means the distance from the surface to the point P, that is from the bottom to top, is h. If I ask you, what is the depth of point B with respect to surface, what will you say? So what is sorry, what is the depth of surface with respect to point P? What will you say? So P should be taken as a reference, correct? So with respect to P, if you measure any distance below it, that is called as depth, right? So here, what should be the depth? If I draw a tangent here, and if I draw a tangent here, the perpendicular distance between them will be the depth. Accepted? Then what is this distance going to be? It is going to be RE minus D. Correct, Ada? Right. So in the previous two cases, what did we do? If there is a mass of value m placed at a depth d, so mass is here, and the distance between mass and the mass of the earth is how much? RE minus D. Accepted? So can I write that the force between this mass small m and me is equal to, can I write it as G into M into ME divided by RE minus D the whole square? Don't copy it, okay? Right. So this is the universal law of gravitation. Similarly, the weight of this particle is going to be how much? M into, I'll call it as G double dash. Guys, did you understand what I did? Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. But if I write something like this, I'm 200% wrong. Okay. Why? Because, see, in the previous case, what happened? The particle that you considered was at a distance h from the surface, accepted. So when you take this point ME, the whole mass of the earth is said to be concentrated at its center. Correct? Similarly, when the particle was on the surface, the whole mass of the earth was said to be concentrated at ME. But when the particle is at this point, only this portion of the earth is going to contribute to the pull of the particle. Are you able to understand? So you're writing ME at this point, right? It is not the total mass of the earth that is contributing. Rather, I will call it as ME dash, where only the shaded portion of the mass of the earth is contributing to pull the smaller mass towards its center. Guys, this is an important point that we need to understand. Am I clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, our job is not ME, rather I have to find ME dash, because ME is not going to be the total mass of the earth. Now the equation is right. So to find ME dash, let's see what we are supposed to do. Now what I'm going to do is, listen, density of earth is how much? Mass of the earth divided by the volume of the earth. Correct? Now, the density of portion of earth is how much? ME dash is said to be concentrated in a total volume of how much? 4/3 into, let me see if you guys are able to answer. ME dash is a mass which is contributed within how much space?
RE minus D.
4/3 pi into RE minus D the whole cube. Correct? Now, what we will do is, we will assume that the earth is having a uniform density. When earth is having uniform density, when earth has uniform density, then ME divided by 4/3 pi RE cube is exactly the same as ME dash divided by 4/3 pi into RE minus D the whole cube. This I've already told. Wherever you speak about uniform mass density or uniform linear density, something like that, then the amount of mass concentrated per unit volume is going to be constant. So this and this will get cancelled. So what is the value of ME dash? be ME into RE minus D the whole cube divided by RE cube. So if you guys are noting it down, please write it. Is there anyone having any doubt? So I hope things are clear then. Okay, shall I move on, guys? Shall I proceed to the next part? Now what I will do, I will take this 2 and substitute it in 1. So substituting 2 and 1, what is going to happen? Fg will be equal to G into small m into, in the place of ME dash, I will write it as, sorry, ME into RE minus D the whole cube divided by RE cube. This will be equal to M into G double dash. So M and M will get cancelled. G double dash is equal to GME divided by RE cube. Now what I will do, I will take this RE outside, it will come out as RE cube into 1 minus D divided by RE the whole square. Sorry, whole cube.
Sir,
Tell me. Oh, sorry, RE square. Tell me. Tell me what is your doubt. Wait. I made a
sir,
mistake.
can you hear me?
I made a mistake. Subrajit, your voice is breaking down. So this and this will get cancelled. GME divided by RE cube into, if I take this RE outside, it will be 1 minus D divided by RE. So this and this will get cancelled. What is GME divided by RE square?
Gravitation. Acceleration due to gravity.
G into 1 minus D divided by RE. This is what is G double dash.
Sir?
Tell me.
Sir, how are we assuming that Earth has an uniform density?
That's how we take. No, first of all, Earth you cannot take it to a complete sphere also, but we are assuming that. That is why you could take it as 4 by 3 pi r cube. You will have some irregularities, right? But we are still considering it to be uniform. Okay. So all these values that you are deriving, do you think they are going to be accurate? Absolutely not. Okay, because they depend on some parameters like latitude and longitude also, but which is not a part of our this thing. So we are not going to discuss it. Okay, so all these are going to be approximate. See, for example, I'll give you a small task. If you want, you can try this and see. Okay. You put a big stool like this. Okay. Stand on top of it. extend your hand exactly horizontal. If you have a tape at home, take a tape and try to measure this height. Okay. Is it clear till this step?
Yes, sir.
Are you done? Okay, you take a big stool or stand at as much height as possible in your house. Okay, take a tape, ask someone to measure it from the top of your head till the floor. Keep your hand exactly horizontal. Have a ball in your hand and drop it. Okay. Ask somebody to stand in front of you. Give them your mobile phone. Ask them to record it in slow motion. Calculate the time at which it is going to hit this. Not even slow motion. Ask them to record a video. Calculate the time at which it is going to hit the surface. Generally, a ball will fall and again bounce. So exactly try to move the video and calculate the time. You know the height. Apply h is equal to half gt square and try to calculate the value of g and tell me. You know the height. From the video, you will get the time. Okay, now you calculate g and c. You tell me if it is going to be 9.8. Okay. Did you understand what I told? Tell me. If you have a stopwatch in your mobile, well and good. You can do that also. Yeah, tell me. Subrajit, I think there is a lot of issue now. You are trying to speak something, but I'm not able to hear. Not only me, I think others are also having. Is he audible, guys? Or am I the only one who's facing that issue?
No, sir.
Is he audible? No, right? There is some hiss sound that is coming, right?
Yes,
there
sir.
is some kind of a noise. I'm not sure what is happening. So please check the connection. Or if possible, just log off and try to log in again. Okay. So you can do this and see it. So you know why I told this? Because we learned it as G is equal to how much? 9.8 meters per second square, right? It will actually keep varying. Because of many other parameters. Shall I proceed?
Yes.
Any other doubt? Any other doubt from acceleration due to gravity? I hope things are clear. Okay. Going forward, all are simple topics. So the one which I derived now is this part. The next concept that we are going to discuss is gravitational potential energy. You'll feel like you're reading all these things again. We have already learned this, right? Gravitational potential energy. Yes or no? What is the value of it?
MGH.
It is MGH, right? Is it applicable all the times? Now you have learned one important concept with respect to one of the parameters involved in this equation. What is it? So in this mathematical expression, there is one of the important things that we have discussed till now. What is it? It is the acceleration due to gravity. Do you think MGH can be applied whether the object is close to the surface, or is it at a certain altitude, or is it at if it is at a certain depth also? Do you think it is going to be applicable? Can we use MGH everywhere and substitute G as 9.8 everywhere?
No, sir.
No, right? By now we would have got clarity. So what is this MGH that you have learned in the previous chapters? That MGH you have learned in the previous chapter, you can apply that formula because the object is going to travel few meters, right? Whereas if the object is traveling in terms of some kilo, see, when you throw a ball upwards, your energy will be maximum in such, you can give maximum velocity to it in such a way that the ball can go to a height of few meters only. You're able to understand? It's not going to be You cannot give velocity to it in such a way that it is going to travel or escape from the gravitational pull of Earth. With the energy with which you're throwing as a human being, the object will be able to travel to a certain height and come back because of the gravitational pull. But what if I have a mission which can give it a velocity in such a way that the ball can travel few kilometers also? Like how these rocket launches and all happen. You're able to understand? So there will be an effect, but that effect will vary with respect to distance, not with respect to time. It will vary with respect to distance. Have this point in your mind, and let's try to define this gravitational potential energy. So I've already discussed this many times. Wherever you see the word energy, what comes to your mind? If you see the word energy, what comes to your mind?
Work done.
Correct. So energy means work done. So if you see the word potential as a prefix to it, then what comes to your mind?
Positions, initial or final position.
You spoke about position, configuration. Let's speak about anything or shape. Position, configuration, or shape. That is the meaning of potential. Right? Position means something with respect to one position with respect to another. Configuration means the way the particles are arranged is called as configuration. Shape means what is the shape of the particular object you're trying to talk about. Right. And obviously the word, so you now you understood what is potential and energy. So it has something to do like this. That is why when put it together, it is simply defined as, maybe in your 9th standard, you would have learned this. The energy possessed by body by virtue of its position, shape, or configuration is potential energy. Simple. But the word gravitation comes into picture. What is understood? So if an object is able to possess energy due to the position, shape, and configuration under the influence of gravitational force, then I can call it as gravitational potential energy. Does that make sense? See, I told you in a basic point of view on how to understand the concept. I'll define it, don't worry. Did you guys understand what I told? If the energy, if an object is able to possess energy due to the position, configuration, or shape under the influence of which force? Gravitational force, then we can call it as gravitational potential energy. Accepted? Correct? So that is the basic understanding. Yes or no, guys?
So can you repeat?
Then why you're not asking when I'm asking so many times? I didn't give the definition. By any chance are you writing it? Don't
No,
write
sir.
it down. I'll tell you the exact definition. Okay. I'm trying to just try to understand the word. Okay. So I understood what is energy. Energy is work done. Potential is due to the position, configuration, or shape. So look at the way I'm trying to define. If there is an object, okay, let's say there is a ball. If that ball is able to have some energy, okay, if the ball is able to have some energy, by virtue of what? By virtue of position, configuration, or shape, under the influence of which force? Under the influence of gravitational force. So to be more specific here, gravitational force I'm trying to talk about is due to Earth. I'm not concerned about any other planet as of now. Okay, I'm going to talk only about the gravitational potential energy of an object with respect to Earth. Am I clear, Raghav? Did you understand?
Fine, sir.
Right? Now there are certain important questions that we need to answer.
Sir?
Please, sir.
Sir, Suprajit has asked us a question in the chat box.
Some question in the chat box, sir. What is it? Sir, when calculating the acceleration due to gravity in depth, we consider only the mass of the little portion of Earth. But what about the leftover mass of the Earth above the object? It also attracts the object with some force, right? So why aren't we considering? See, generally, when you talk about the gravitational force due to Earth, how do you define weight? Weight is defined as the force with which an object is pulled towards. Can you complete the statement? I repeat it. Weight of an object is force. Everybody knows this. Weight is equal to mq. So weight of an object is nothing but the force with which an object is pulled towards dash. Pulled towards
The center of the Earth.
center of the Earth. So when the object is placed here, which portion of the mass will contribute? Only this portion. So that is why we didn't consider the mass above it. Because what is the equation to which I equate? What is the expression to which I equated it? I wrote it as g into small m into capital M divided by distance square. That is universal law of gravitation. So my concern is, what is the amount of mass that is contributing to the gravitational pull? That is a one which is present exactly below the point where the object is placed. Understood?
Yes,
They would
sir.
understand. Right? Yeah. So that is the reason I didn't take the mass above it. So gravitational potential energy. Somebody asked me. I hope it is clear, right? Somebody asked me to repeat. Raghav, was it you?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Are you clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll proceed with the technical definition. Okay. See, I have, let's say, Earth like this. Okay. I'm interested to study what is the work that is being done by Earth on a small particle of mass m. What I will do, I will keep varying the position of the small m with respect to the surface of Earth. Okay, think about it. Now tell me one thing. Is there a possibility of you placing this mass m at a point where, is there a possibility to place this mass m, small m, at a point where the Earth does not have any influence on it? Right. So to put it in simple terms, I'm asking, is there a possibility for you to define a point in the space where the Earth does not exhibit any attractive force on that particular object?
No, sir.
Actually, you can. Why? Because we'll come back to the concept of weight. What is weight saying? It is m into g according to same Newton's second law, right? So what is happening if you go to the mathematical expression and see what is happening as the value of g is increasing? Sorry, as the value of h is increasing, means you're taking, let's say you're taking the object to a certain height h star. Is there a, think about it mathematically, g divided by 1 plus h by re the whole square. Is there a value of h that I can substitute here so that this whole expression becomes a 0? What should I substitute in the denominator so that the whole expression becomes a 0? Something divided by what is equal to 0?
Infinity, sir.
Infinity. Okay. So infinity literally doesn't mean infinity. Infinity is that point where the acceleration due to gravity, where the attractive force of Earth on that object becomes 0. So if I keep this object at infinity, then this object is not going to experience any force according to the concept of acceleration due to gravity with respect to altitude. First point to be noted. Second point, if I slowly start moving this, means what I'm trying to say is, see, for you to understand it better, I will take this example. You can visualize this better. If you have a magnet, let's say I have an iron nail in my hand. I have an iron nail in my hand. So I keep it like this. Now, I place this iron nail close to this magnet. Is there a possibility? Do you think there is a possibility of this iron nail getting attracted? Do you think that this iron nail will get
Yes, sir.
attracted? Okay. See, one thing is, if you do it practically, you can say yes or no. But if the question is posted theoretically, we need to ask certain questions. This iron nail will be able to get attracted to this magnet only under the circumstance if this magnet is strong enough. Can I say something like that? Right, that is what immediately I will put a question. Is that magnet strong enough to attract the iron nail? Or is it going to be like a dummy one? Like, do you think even it is going to have enough strength? Is a question valid or not? Because everything is happening theoretically. I don't have a magnet in my hand to really do and see. Correct? Now, if I put a question like this, what will be your theoretical explanation that will give me? I will try to draw the region of magnetic field lines around it. Right? You know what is the direction of magnetic field lines? They are from north to south pole outside the magnet and south to north pole inside the magnet. Accepted? Yes or no? So, there is going to be a region around this magnet, which we call it as magnetic field. Guys, are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? So there is an area around this magnet, which I call it as magnetic field. So what does that magnetic field signify? I'm not concerned about the definition. There should be some significance of it, right? What is it going to signify? Means if you try to bring in any magnetic substance, so magnetic substance need not be a magnet. It can be a steel, iron, something which gets attracted to magnet. If you place it in that magnetic field, then this magnet will have the strength to pull or repel it towards it. Correct? In a similar way, there will be a region of field around the earth where you try to place another mass might get attracted or not, depending on whether the object is placed within that field or not. Now I have a question. If I say that is called as a field, what will be the name of the field that you people will give?
Gravitational field.
Yes. Means what I'm trying to say here is if there is a possibility of you placing a mass outside the gravitational field of the given planet. Here the planet is Earth. Okay, that point is what is called as infinity. Now what will happen if this mass is slowly moved into the gravitational field of the Earth? What do you think will happen? If the object is placed here, okay, if the object is placed here, what do you think is going to happen? It will start getting attracted due to the gravitational pull of the Earth. It is going to be a high value or a low value, that is not, I'm not concerned about it. But if there is an attraction that is going to happen, yes, I will say there will be an attraction. Correct? There is a reason I am explaining all the story. No? Are you guys able to understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now comes the technical definition of gravitational potential energy. What is it?
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, in the first chapter, we learned that the range of gravitational force is infinite, right? What does it refer?
Range of gravitational force is infinite. Yeah, gravitational force is infinite because there are other things also existing, right? See, what does gravitational force define? Newton's law of gravitation is recollectancy. It is a force of attraction that exists between two point masses. So it's basically defined for point mass, but yeah, even for extended mass, you can integrate and find the values. That's a different story. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? So it is a force of attraction that is existing between two particles when they are separated by reasonable distance. So to answer your question, gravitational force is infinite only, but I'm talking about the gravitational force due to Earth. Why the other gravitational force? So you're talking about the general context. The gravitational force can be between a Mars and some other planet. It can be between a planet and a planet. It can be between a planet and sun.
Okay, sir.
Able to-
Get it.
Right. So that is the statement there. But here my context is restricted to whom?
Earth.
To the gravitational pull of Earth. Okay. So yes. So write it down. Work done to bring an object of mass m from infinity to a point within the gravitational field of Earth. So work done to bring an object of mass m from infinity to a point within the gravitational field of Earth is what we define, is what we call it as gravitational potential energy. You need to clearly understand this definition. Okay, you need to clearly understand this definition for us to go with the derivation part. Okay, listen to this carefully. This is Earth. Okay, mass of the Earth is concentrated here, and let me call this as the radius of Earth. Okay, there is a particle. Listen, there is a particle of mass m, which is at a distance x at some instant, where this mass is lying within the gravitational field. Within the gravitational field. So what will happen to this object? It will experience a gravitational force towards the center of the Earth. Now, in order to ensure that this is it is not balanced, sorry, it is balanced, then what we need to do is we need to apply some external force in the opposite direction, which is slightly, okay, which is slightly greater than the gravitational force, so that you're controlling its acceleration. Okay, now what is the definition saying? Work done by us to bring an object of mass m from infinity to a point within the gravitational field. Okay, now listen to this carefully. If I displace this object through a distance dx, then what is the small amount of external work that is done by this force? Can I write it as F external into dx into cos of 180 degrees from the basics of work energy power? F external is in this direction, dx is in this direction. So it will be minus F external into dx. Okay, but F external is going to be such a small value that it is going to be minus 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into mass of the Earth into mass of the small particle divided by x square and a dx. Please write it down.
Sir, this is similar to electric potential, right?
Some similar to electric potential. Is that what you're asking? Sorry, I didn't hear you. But there is no concept of electric potential in 11th. No? You know the concept already. Huh? What you're asking is right. It is similar. Is equal to minus small m into capital, sorry, minus small m into capital ME divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into dx divided by x square. So for the total external work done, we need to integrate it. Integral of, wait, I forgot something. Hey, wait. Sorry. Sorry, I was teaching electrostatics. But I thought you will tell me the mistake. What is the mistake I did? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. It doesn't exist here. It is minus G M M E. Okay. So minus G small m into capital M E into integral of dx divided by x square. Where is the object moved from? What is the initial position of the object? X is at infinity, and when it is moved to some distance r, then what is going to be the value? It is minus G into capital ME into integral of 1 by x square is minus 1 by x from infinity to r. If anybody has a doubt of why it is minus 1 by x power minus 2 dx, so that will be x power minus 2 plus 1 divided by minus 2 plus 1 plus c. Forget about this. Okay. So minus gm into small into me, the whole divided by r with a plus sign. So this is the external work done. This will be the negative of the gravitational work done. Okay. This will be the negative of gravitational work done, and work done by the gravitational force will be equal to minus G into ME divided by R. And this is what is called as the gravitational potential energy. So whenever you are applying the formula for gravitational potential energy, remember there is a negative sign, and the negative sign indicates that the gravitational potential energy is conservative in nature.
Sir, could you show the diagram? Sir, which is the gravitational field here? The first curve or the second one?
Second curve is the gravitation. First curve is Earth's surface.
Sir, and the point mass is already lying inside the gravitational field.
Yes.
So then no work is done, right? It is already inside the gravitational field.
But the gravitational force will try to pull the object. No? When there is a force and displacement caused on the object, then there is going to be what? Work done.
Okay, sir.
Sir, could you scroll down?
Done? Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So based on this, we will see certain concepts. One is we call as escape speed of an object. Okay, let's say there is a surface, and from the surface of the earth, you need to give a velocity VE to that object so that it goes to infinite point. What does that mean? Means this object should be given a velocity. Name itself is suggesting escape speed or escape velocity, whatever you call it. Okay, you need to give a certain speed to that object so that it escapes what? The gravitational pull of the earth. So it's a one-step derivation. Speed with which an object should be projected so as to escape the gravitational pull of Earth. I'm talking about the escape speed of the particle from the Earth's surface. How to do that? So applying conservation of energy, what I can say is minus G capital ME into small m divided by RE plus half MVE square will be equal to 0. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is initial potential energy plus kinetic energy will be equal to 0 because when the particle goes to infinite position, its potential energy is 0 because the value of R will become infinite and its kinetic energy cannot be defined. So it is also going to be 0. Okay. So the other way of writing this is gravitational potential energy should be equal to the initial kinetic energy. Means whatever kinetic energy you gave should get converted to the necessary gravitational potential energy. Okay, this is another way to do. Are you guys able to understand? Or the best way to understand this, applying work energy theorem. So what does work energy theorem state? The total work that is being done is equal to the change in kinetic energy. So total work that is being done at the surface is minus GME into M divided by RE square. This will be equal to the change in kinetic energy 0 minus half MVE square, where E is the escape velocity. So if you observe, minus and minus will get cancelled, small m will get cancelled. So what is the value of escape velocity? It will be root of 2 times GME divided by RE square. Sorry. By RE. Okay, this I can write it as root of 2 times GME into RE divided by RE square. Okay, what is GME divided by RE square equal to? The small g into RE. So the escape velocity that you need to give to an object is equal to square root of 2 times g into RE. Okay. Next is orbital velocity. Are you guys there or not?
Yes, sir.
Now, we know about satellites, right? They mainly help us in the communication. All these wireless devices we are able to use only because of the main thing of satellite, right? So if there is a satellite on the surface of the Earth, if you give sufficient velocity to the object so that it reaches a height h, and after it reaches a height h, if you give horizontal velocity to this object v naught so that it starts revolving in an orbit around the Earth, then this velocity is called as the orbital velocity. Okay. So we need certain satellites to revolve around the Earth so that they help us in the communication process. Right? What we need to do is you give some velocity to the object, raise it to a certain height. At that height, what you do is you give a horizontal velocity to that object so that they start revolving in a circular orbit, is what is called as orbital velocity. So what I can say is for orbital velocity, if this is the center of the Earth, what is this distance going to be, guys? RE plus
H.
H. Correct. So at this point also, it is going to have an orbital speed. Let me call it as V naught. So can I say that centripetal force is provided by the gravitational force? So G small m into capital M E divided by RE plus H the whole square is equal to MV naught square divided by RE plus H. So this is the gravitational force and this is the centripetal force. So RE plus H and this will get cancelled. M and M will get cancelled. So V naught square is equal to G times capital ME divided by RE plus H. Correct? If H is very much less than RE, okay, if H is very much less than RE, then V naught square will be equal to G times ME divided by RE. So multiplying with RE and dividing with RE will give you GME divided by RE square into RE. So what is GME divided by RE square?
Acceleration due to gravity.
So small g times RE. This will be the value of V naught square. Then V naught will be how much? The root of G times RE. But this root of G times RE will happen under what scenario? Only if RE is very much greater than H. If not, this will be the orbital velocity square. Okay. So one last point is V naught is root of G times RE and VE will be equal to root of 2 times GRE. Then VE can be written as root 2 times V naught. There's another way of looking at it. Okay. So with this, we are done with the major part of the chapter. So in tomorrow's class, we'll be discussing about Kepler's law and small concepts that are left out. With that, we are done with this chapter. Then we'll do some problems. Okay, any other doubt from today's class?
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, gravitational potential energy is like a minus G into M into mass of Earth divided by R, right? So gravitational potential will be the, we have to remove M.
Yeah, gravitational potential, you have to remove smaller. So generally, potential means amount of the gravitational potential energy or the amount of work done per unit mass. Okay. So as you asked, yes, you have to remove that smaller. Okay. That's it from my side, guys. I'll see you all in the next class.
Thank you, sir.